The XRP group is up to a lot of different things. We will, of course, talk about this bill. This is a suggested bill that would officially keep the SEC from keeping an eye on crypto assets like Solana and XRP. Howard Lutnick, who is Secretary of Commerce for the United States, also talks about what the U.S. plans to do, Treasury may be doing, and the infrastructure of the United States. We're going to talk about a lot of things, including who this man is and what he has done in the past. Of course, I heard something from Brad Garlinghouse about XRP and ETFs in the real world. Guys, we're going to talk about everything in this movie. Thanks for coming back. I hope all is well with you. Let's talk about the facts. Crypto legislation could free the business from SEC oversight, but some people say it will open a lot of doors. A suggested bill would officially keep the SEC from keeping an eye on crypto assets like Solana and XRP. But let's start right away. Crypto bills are moving quickly through Congress with big deadlines of August. The possible effects of these laws are just starting to become clear. One of these bills, for example, would try to change basic U.S. securities laws to officially leave most crypto assets out of the definition of a security. This would be a big step that Congress has never taken before, at least not since these laws were first written at the start of the New Deal in the 1930s. The bill is known as the Securities Clarity Act, was brought back to the House last week by Tom Emmer, who is the majority whip. That's all I have to say about this. I believe it would be good for XRP, Solana, and other similar assets, but a lot of the crypto business is just a scam. It doesn't make sense. It's not going anywhere. Those who put money into that will lose it. And I'm okay with that as long as the SEC takes a more general look at those projects. However, things could get out of hand if not everything is seen as safe, or if everything is seen as just, whatever. I think that we do need someone to keep an eye on that. Okay. Who is Howard Lutnick then? This is the man who was born in 1961 and is the Secretary of Commerce for the U.S. Department of State. This person really does hold a lot of Bitcoin. The fact that he knows a lot about crypto is great. I'll show you some knowledge about what he's talking about. Let's talk about this together. I explained to him what a free seller is. I made it because I didn't want to go into the government. I was making the shift. How do you find a free vendor? It is official that the gratis seller gives goods to the government of the United States of America. It doesn't get sold. Because of this, I don't have to go through the whole process of becoming a real seller. Since you're giving it to us, the president can then accept it if you give it to Article 2, which is the president's stuff. Yes? Because it's free. I'm sorry, but what does this look like? To force me to write some code? Writing software is what you do? I help the Commerce Department do XYZ better by writing tools for them. Giving it to me is all it takes. I'll test it and then take it. We will get help from the government if you sell it to me for $1. Okay, all of that nonsense? Okay, but if you give it to me, okay? Then I set it up, and I said, I'm going to call it Doge. I also registered the name Doge. Said that very quickly. I think the Secretary of Commerce is saying that the U.S. government could use technology without any problems as long as they did some research to make sure it was safe. The United States government will also gain in some way from this technology. Could Ripple offer their technology or intellectual protocol or something similar that the government could use to send money? It looks like the main goal is to save money so that the US government can buy Bitcoin and maybe some other electronic money. There's more to come on this, I'll keep a close eye on this, but please tell me what you think in the comments. Did you know that Ripple might give some of their tech to the US government? It's clear that selling it to the government could lead to a lot of problems. A lot of going back and forth would happen. I believe that both Republicans and Democrats would be a part of that. We all know how crazy that can get. In this case, giving them the technology would be best. This is Howard Lutnick. He has already stacked up billions of dollars in Bitcoin for the US. Look at this. Of course, the U.S. Strategic Reserve is for Bitcoin. The Secretary and the Secretary of Commerce should come up with plans for getting more government Bitcoin, as long as those plans don't cost too much. I wish the government would stop buying cryptocurrencies that were not created or based in the United States. Actually, I thought that when we started this or what it turned into, it would help U.S. companies, not this. However, everything is fine. Separate sovereign wealth fund. The Assistant to the President for Economic Strategy and the Secretaries of the Treasury and Commerce will work together to make a plan for the setup and sovereign wealth fund. That's cool. That's great. This could be a business that he works for or something. It is worth $600 million to own a 5% share in Tether. Some interesting things are going to be found here, like Howard Lutnick's plan to get rid of taxes for everyone making less than a certain amount, $150,000. Let me play this. Why don't tips not be taxed? What about not taxing overtime? What about not getting Social Security? What about all of those things? And he wants to get rid of all taxes for people who make less than $150,000 a year. That's the kind of thinking that will change America. That's his aim. That is what I am working on. Does getting rid of the people who pay into Social Security mean getting rid of Social Security itself? I think that's a tough pill for many Americans to swallow because, well, I'm 20 years old. I've worked since I was 19 years old and have always put money into Social Security with every paycheck. If you get rid of Social Security now, it will affect me, but it will also affect people who have paid into it their whole lives and are getting money right now. They live off of that money, okay? A lot of people who are retired are getting by on Social Security. Some people could lose everything if they stopped making those payments. Okay, this is Howard Lutnick. In this sentence, he talks about tariffs once more as a way to tax and pay the government. I'm going to play this for you now. We'll get a great idea of how he thinks and where this is all going. Okay, when did America get so good? We had a great business at the turn of the century. In 1900, 125 years ago, there was no income tax and only customs. Rates were all we had. People who were the best at business in the United States got together to try to figure out how to spend our huge amount of cash. That's what we were back then. After World Wars I and II, we felt like we had to help rebuild the rest of the world. This is what we did. We took down our defense. We got rid of our borders and instead raised taxes on Americans so that we could save the rest of the world with the power of our economy. I have a question for you now. How many years should that have gone by? Should the 80s have been the end? The 1990s, 2000, what the heck are we up to? The other people can eat our lunch. Now's the time to make America great again. All right, so we all know that taxes cost money. And that means that consumers like you and me pay for them because the person who brings the things in from any country pays more and that extra money is passed on, right? If you buy something with a small window of opportunity to make money, right? The people who sell that item would lose money if they kept the price the same. And everyone knows that companies don't exist to lose money, or they won't be in business for long if they do that. We're still not sure what will happen. There must be a plan if half of the country says so, right? That the other side has a rainbow, no one will pay their taxes, it's going to be great. And the other half thinks, you know, we were putting the economy at risk, if there is one, like one step. What if this goes in the wrong direction? It could be worse for the US economy than 2008, right? There are many people who think that. As you can see, there is a lot of good action in the crypto world. On the tax side, I'm not sure what to think, but I have to give it some time just like everyone else. It's all about the economy, though, if you want to see it. If you want to know what's going on with the US economy right now with all the numbers and details, you should really check out my last live session, which is this one right here. Let me show you this before I go into it. All right? Right? She says, I'll watch. Hold on, guys. We're in here somewhere. I looked through a lot of this records. That's a lot. Okay, here it is again.